so I got around to watching Invincibles, and I can't say I liked it very much, and I think it's overrated. I didn't check the ratings until after I finished the show, and I was shocked by the praise the show received. 8.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, this show isn't even close to being that good, and in this video I'll explain why. Firstly, the animation is not very good. There wasn't a single frame of this show that was visually pleasing. I know it's obvious, but it is kind of distracting. I also had problems with the audio in this show. The audio balancing is very bad. The sound effects are so much louder than the dialogue. And people like to say that the performances were good, but I kinda disagree with this. Only a few of the big name voice actors were good. The rest were just average. They didn't really stand out to me. And I find the licensed music to be pretty overbearing and kind of obnoxious. I just don't like licensed music in fictional media for the most part. It just breaks the immersion and takes me out of the experience. The dialogue also isn't very good. The dialogue is just annoying sometimes, and it's too on the nose. The characters just explain exactly how they feel without any subtlety. There were like 2 good lines in the entire show. The humor also wasn't that good. It's kind of cringy, and some parts are just really annoying. The fights were mostly meh for me. The only fight that I found interesting was the fight between Conquest and Eve. I like how they use Eve's powers in creative ways. Other than that, the fights were mostly just 2 guys punching each other. I don't like the characters very much in this show. Most of them are boring and or annoying. Mark is likable enough, I guess, even if he is a bit generic. He's not exactly a super interesting protagonist. He's a teenager with powers trying to do good while also juggling his relationships in school. Pretty standard stuff here. He's not a bad character, but I just don't find him to be that interesting. He's pretty generic, although there were some decent character moments, like when Cecil tells Mark to agree to Anissa's demands so that she'll leave so they can buy more time, and he actually says no. That was a good character moment showing that he won't back down to Viltrumites even if it's just to buy time. That was the only moment from Mark that stood out to me. I like Omni-Man and his arc of learning to actually care about other people, and not being a tyrannical psychopathic murderer. But I just wish he had more screen time. We see way less of him after season 1. I don't like Amber. She's lame and not very interesting. Her only role in the story is to be a love interest for Mark, that he eventually has to give up. Other than that, there's nothing to this character. I don't like Rex. He's annoying and unfunny. I know he's supposed to be, but he doesn't really have any redeemable qualities to make up for it. I mean, he begins to be a little less of a dick towards the end where he dies, but yeah, he's just not that interesting of a character. His whole drama between him and Duplicate is just annoying and unengaging. It's just the whole you slept with him, you slept with her bullshit. It's petty and unimportant. William is just annoying and could have been completely cut from the show. I feel like the only reason for his existence is to be the gay friend to our protagonist. But the writers didn't really think to make him an interesting character on his own. And some scenes are just, yeah.
You talk to me. It's like it's so sexy. It's gonna be a great weekend.
Like, I didn't have to see a close-up of some guy's ass. I find it funny how we're showing a guy doing this, but not a single female. I like Rudy and his plotline of making a new body for himself. And I like the scenes where he's trying to learn to be human. These are some fun scenes displaying his character development. Also, Rudy and Amanda's relationship also isn't too bad. There's some cute scenes of them together and some decent drama and character development. It feels like a real relationship. Eve is another pretty generic character. She again doesn't have that much personality. She has a conflict of struggling with being a hero, but it's just not given enough attention in this show in my opinion. They just talk about it a few times and it's not enough to get me invested. I don't like Mark and Amber's relationship. Amber is just boring and Mark isn't interesting enough to carry these interactions on his own. They don't have any chemistry with each other whatsoever, and this just wasn't a convincing relationship. I also find it kind of weird when Amber gets mad at Mark for leaving when the monster guy shows up at the school. She acts like this is some big betrayal. Did she just expect him to just not go and fight the bad guy? What the fuck? This doesn't seem like an act of betrayal, and it just seems like forced drama. I don't like Mark and Eve's relationship either. They also have very little chemistry. They again just talk about how they feel. Their love for each other isn't really shown to us. This plotline moves way too fast. They agree to date and fall in love in a span of a couple episodes. There isn't nearly enough build up for this relationship. The writers just want us to believe that they like each other. It's not convincing. I like Alan. He has personality, he's funny, and he has the same name as me. Then there's people like Bulletproof who serve no purpose to the story. I think this guy has less than 10 lines. And I can care less about the plotline of Debbie trying to date again. I don't care about this. It's boring. I don't want to see Debbie go on dates. None of the people she interacts with are interesting, and she's not interesting enough to carry this plotline. Then there's Rex and Ray, who are now together for some reason. And like most relationships, it's not done well. I don't know why the writers think that every character needs to be in a relationship. It's like they don't know what to do with a character if they're not in one. It just feels like a cheap and manipulative way to make the audience feel sad when Rex dies. It doesn't work. There were some cool story moments. I really like the part where Mark gets trapped in some random dimension and the Guardians from the future had to come and save him. That was pretty cool. And future Eve confessing her love was pretty powerful. This was a good scene. But there's another moment that I thought was forced and stupid. In season 3, there's this plotline of Mark having a falling out with Cecil because he's working with Darkwing and Sinclair. But I don't give a fuck about this plotline. We haven't seen Darkwing since season 1, and I actually completely forgot that Darkwing even existed until this point. All of a sudden Mark is mad that Darkwing killed people in Midnight City, even though Mark also killed someone, or at least thinks he did. But who fucking cares? I don't. This literally just pops up for there to be a conflict for the start of the season. Then there's Sinclair. This makes a little more sense because he actually almost killed William and turned Rick into a robot. So his outrage makes a little more sense here. But even then, this still comes out of nowhere and feels forced. It's not like anyone actually cares about Sinclair or Darkwing. Mark doesn't really seem to care that much about Sinclair. This seems contrived. There's also some power scaling issues. Why are the Guardians and Invincible having trouble with the Maulers in season 3? This is just stupid and distracting. He can likely be the Viltrumite at this point. He should be able to handle the Maulers with no problem, and so should the others. There's just so many plot lines that I just don't care about. I only cared about the plot line of the Viltrumites taking over the Earth, and I wanted more of that and less of the human drama and conflicts. So in conclusion, this show is highly overrated. The visual quality of this show is severely lacking. The characters and plot lines were lackluster and weren't fleshed out well, and I just wasn't interested in most of the plot lines in this show. I'll give this show a 5.8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. Patreon in the description if you want to support, and bye.